Welcome back to another video. Today we're out here once again with the Grinderino, sporting that HDZero hotness. Got the HDZero goggles on my head, and today I'm going to be doing that same range test, except this time I'm going to try the different bands. In that building right there, right at the front corner, there's a Wi-Fi access point that is particularly troublesome to pretty much all of the different FPV systems. So I'm basically going to start flying on channel 1 at 500 500 megahertz, and then go all the way down to channel 8 and see which one has the best results. I'm basically just going to repeat the same flight. The first flight is going to be a little bit of an experimental flight to kind of pick that first path, but once I figure out what the path I want to take is, I'm going to try to repeat it all 8 times in a row. And then as an added bonus, I'm going to swap out the patch antennas, go back to channel 1, run it at max, and run that same flight one more time. And this time, I'm gonna see if switching to 4 omnidirectional stubby antennas makes any difference compared to the patch. For this test, it's gonna be a little different. I'm no longer gonna be sitting in the chair, right where I normally sit. Today, I'm going to be sitting on that curb. So that way I'm faced towards the parking garage, which is generally the hardest to get signal. And I'm going to fly, this is my guess. My guess is I'm gonna fly all the way down to that road over there, fly down it, through the parking garage one way, through the parking garage the other way, and back to me. So let's get this down on the ground, get up in the air, and see how she does. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna fly this route, and hopefully this is R1 500 megahertz. Okay, here we go. And like all my other tests, I'm running this with a 540p 90 hertz camera. So now I've got a dirt hill behind me, between me and the drone. Kind of expected a little breakup. Go through this here, navigate these trees. Now we're coming out to beside me. Oh, there's still so much wind. I hate wind. Okay, so we're gonna go into here. Ooh. This is the one thing I do like about HDZero is I can fly through breakup. Go up here, second level. And ideally, I'm gonna go down to this back corner. That's rough. Okay, that actually seems like a pretty decent route. Whoa. If the wind is this bad in the audio, I will just ADR this. My apologies, it is crazy windy. Okay, so now let's go into our camera settings. Go down to channel, we're gonna go to R2, and then we're gonna go to save and exit. Oh no, I lost video! And here we go. Channel 2. I don't expect channel 2 to be all that much different. Channel 1 and 2 for HDZero is very much in the Wi-Fi spectrum. I'm going to try to mimic the speed as much as possible, and I'm trying to go slow because I really don't want to have a crash like that. But it is so windy and I'm getting knocked around so much that some deviation is going to be expected. And I'm not going to lie, I think this looks better. Yeah, overall, and again, this is going to vary based, touch the ground. This is going to vary also based on the spot that you're flying. Telemetry lost. Yeah, R2. Whoa. Not right there. Whoa, that was different. Over. Back down. Honestly, the part that's giving me the most anxiety is this first spot up here. Usually I'm standing up, so this isn't a high signal loss area. But right now, this is... There's also a huge amount of crosswind right there, so I just get blown up and around with this little 3.5. Okay. And I'm trying to stay as low to the ground as possible so I don't put anybody or anything in danger, and also if I have a crash or lose video completely, I don't break anything, ideally.
Telemetry lost. Telemetry recovered. Telemetry lost. Telemetry recovered. Telemetry lost. Telemetry recovered.
Oof. Woof. Yeah, right there's nasty. I don't know what it is about right there, but... On our goggles, now we go to R4. And the closer we get to 7 and 8, the better this should be. I'm not 100% confident, but there are a lot of Wi-Fi networks around here, because each of these Wi-Fi buildings have a lot of Wi-Fi extenders, both inside and outside. This one's not good. It's not terrible. It's not as bad as 1. R1 was horrific. So now we're back, like, staring right down the mouth of the hatch antennas, because we're kind of like right in front of us. The first one I'm a little nervous about losing all video. Still enough to fly through. I don't know what it is right there on that spot. All of them have gone, like, nearly out. Except, interestingly, 1. I think 1 was kind of okay there. R5. Here we go. Now I'm kind of tempted. Can I do all these flights on one battery? This is a Race Day Quads 850 4S. For those keeping tabs at home. Oh, that's a nasty wind. Yeah, this one's not great. Yeah, it's interesting. Some seem to struggle right underneath that building right when I enter the garage, and others don't. Again, once again, all this is unscientific. There we go, crystal clear. real bad. And I ran that one down a little too far, but I don't think that'll affect the video transmitter itself. To R6. And off we go once again. This one might be a little better, but we're gonna find out very quickly. If anybody knows if when you get to the end of the battery, and I'm happy to redo it, I don't know that it'll be much, if any, different than that previous run, but let me know if you get towards the end of a battery, does it affect the video transmitter output, specifically on HDZero? I don't think it does on DJI, or at least I've never noticed it, and I've flown batteries way down to the bottom, and with the exception of that Mobula 8, where you can fly it down below the voltage at which the video transmitter runs, I've never had like diminished performance on a VTX because my battery was low. Again, with the exception of the Mobula 8, because if you get down below 7 volts, the O3, whoa, I need to focus for a second. So that's the first time I've had to land in that corner. Whoa. So that one was pretty bad. And that was R6. Go down. Go to R7. Save exit. So this one I'm expecting maybe it is going to be a little different. Don't know if it feels any different back there. Okay. And as you can see, this is a pretty extreme environment. Loads of metal. Okay. To flip into angle mode there, 7 was bad. And just so we're aware, where it gets really, really rough is like directly this way. You can see me in one of these two cameras at this one. That also adds my car in between. So I will give an extra whatever challenge point. Okay, here we go. Last before we switch up the antennas and switch up the power. 8 is really bad back here. Which is weird. I was pretty sure 8 was above Wi-Fi. But maybe with commercial Wi-Fi extenders and commercial cellular extenders, they may cross into that band. I wonder what else shares shit. We're gonna have to switch to
Telemetry recovered. Telemetry lost. Telemetry recovered.
yeah, that was another angle mode recovery. Yeah, so at this spot, 7 and 8 are kind of dogs, at least on HDZero. Which is interesting because I really like 7 on DJI. 7 on DJI for me has been like the jam. Okay, so we're gonna go down to power. And we're gonna go back to R1, save and exit. So let's do that same route again. R1, maximum power. Now here's a weird thought and question. Would somebody with a larger head volume get worse range with stubbies on their goggles because more of the antenna is obscured behind more water and flesh volume? Man, I have some weird thoughts while flying. So I probably should be listening to music. Quiets that shower thought part of my brain. Okay, that by far was the most confident I've been going through there. So I do think that max power on 1 is hugely beneficial across the board. Let's come in, let's swap batteries. Let's swap antennas, let's go over to the stubbies, and we're gonna swap batteries.
Telemetry recovered.
Just to verify, R1 max. We're gonna go down here, go to exit. And away we go. Ooh, this is interesting. Interesting. I don't know if this is that interesting, but I feel like I got up a little farther towards that building behind me before I got breakup. There's a car coming down that road. This looks pretty similar to what I was experiencing with the patch and Omni split. So good and clear. Very sharp. Slow down for this section. Crazy wind. that same spot has gotten every single one of them. I wonder what's in this parking garage there. We are in New Jersey, maybe with Jimmy Hompa's body. Just kidding. Okay. Interesting. 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 And there we go. There was the flights. What'd you think? I'm going to put in a little freestyle next and give some commentary after I've reviewed the footage, so obviously I don't know the results here. But from this flight, in the moment, I do want to draw some conclusions, but I'll get into those after I do the ADR, after I've reviewed the footage. So give me a second, be right back.
After reviewing all the footage, my main takeaway actually is one of curiosity. I was expecting 7 and 8 to actually do fairly well here because Wi-Fi technically ends right around band 6 on HDZero. That's the spectrum that the Wi-Fi signal is allowed to occupy. Here though, band 7 and 8 did perform extremely rough in that back corner where there's traditionally a lot of Wi-Fi reception. What I'm maybe thinking is that the security cameras inside that parking garage may not be using a traditional Wi-Fi signal or mesh network, and actually may be using similar video technology to what our FPV cameras use. So if they are wirelessly transmitting, if they are on the same wireless transmitting band as our FPV system, that would explain a whole lot why that corner is pretty terrible when it comes to video reception. Overall, I think when it comes to flying office parks, whether you choose an all Omni setup or whether you choose to run the traditional patch and Omni combination on your HDZero goggles, I think you're pretty much all set. Obviously, if you're going to go in one direction and fly a lot longer range, I would recommend going towards the patch and Omni because the single direction reception is quite a bit better. You're not going to see it here in this footage, but that's my experience flying in a whole bunch of different locations with a whole bunch of different quads from 3-inch to whoops to 5-inch, and actually a 4-inch long range now. This test and the DJI test really showed me the importance of understanding the RF environment and how your video reception is going to work at a new spot. I think from now on, when I go to a new spot to fly, I will do a couple of packs, maybe 1 or 2 right at the start, oscillating through video channels and figuring out what works best, especially if I'm going to attempt a harder trick or a more complicated maneuver like a dive through a small space. Nothing is going to put your quad in higher risk of being destroyed or lost than losing reception at that critical moment when you may not be able to recover it, or you're about to hit a giant metal beam. Beyond destroying your quad, it also puts you and the people you're flying with at possible risk, because if you can't see where you're going, it makes it a whole lot harder to take evasive action. With modern video systems, it's so easy to swap channels, whether it's in the goggles with Walk Snail or DJI, or with the stick commands with HDZero, stick commands on the screen. I think it's just a great idea when you first get to a spot, swap channels, see what works, see what doesn't work, and obviously if you're going to try something in a spot you don't get good video reception from where you're standing, regardless of channel, not a bad idea to move and put yourself in the best position for success. Now back to me in the parking lot.
And there we go. So whatever my conclusion was in the reviewed footage, this is really my conclusion for in the moment. And in the moment, I honestly have to say that I saw the best results in the middle channels or on R1. R1 was pretty confident all the way through, especially when running on max. I think that's really what I take most away from this, is maximum power does the biggest, or has the biggest effect on your overall range, penetration, everything like that. I am not 100% sure swapping to the Omnis made a big difference. I think it did make a little difference in some of the little sections, but overall, if you're running all patch antennas, well, maybe if you're not running all patch antennas, because if you're flying behind you with that giant dirt wall there, you probably will struggle more than I did. If you're flying with a mixture of patch and Omnis or all Omnis, I think your results are going to be pretty similar, especially when you're just flying something like an office park. Overall, I am still very pleased with how the penetration works. Yes, DJI O3 in particular is way better penetration wise because I managed to fly around that building, which still boggles my mind. But overall, I don't think that HDZero really should be compared to that O3 because it does some pretty crazy stuff with its our internal RF. So with all that said, I think what it most comes down to is at your flying spot, do that same thing. Fly a pack or fly half a pack into different locations in the spot you fly on different channels to find out what works best. Because really interestingly, I think a couple of them performed a little better. On top of this garage, there was almost like a dead spot, and only I think 2 or 3 of the channels really performed okay. Like I could fly through them without feeling like I lose all video. So try at your spot, try a couple of different channels, see what works for you, see what doesn't work for you. And obviously, again, these results will also vary when you're flying with a group because the RF landscape changes. But hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you've liked it and you haven't seen the other videos where I test DJI directly versus HDZero, or testing just DJI on its own, going through the different channels and different power levels, go check that out. They're probably somewhere on this page. Again, thank you all for joining me. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Bye.